We're ready for our next set of interviews for the 2021 Big Sky Basketball Virtual Tip-Off. I'm joined by Montana State head coaches Danny Sprinkle and Trisha Binford, and student athletes Jabril Bello and Darian White. We're going to jump right into our first set of questions. Coach Sprinkle, we're going to start with you. Looking back to last year, your team upset the regular season champions to advance to the title game. Do you feel that puts a target on the Bobcats' back?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sets the expectations a little bit higher, and I think with, having some veteran guys back, we've taken those expectations, and I think our level of practice and our level of commitment, has shown in that. I think these guys now know what they expect from themselves. And, it's time to take the next step with our program. And, we did make a little run, but I do think this will be the best that the Big Sky has been in a long, long time on the men's basketball side, with a lot of guys returning. And so with those expectations, comes the pressure of meeting them also.
Got a lot of new guys on the team as well. So how are you setting that standard for them and, really allowing them to understand what the expectation is?
I think I leave that up to our players. I always like to say we're a player-led program, and our veteran guys like Jabril, like Xavier and Ahmed Adamu, I think it's their job to pass that down to the young guys, their expectations for, what they expect from them from a practice standpoint, in the weight room, how they handle themselves in the community. And they've done a tremendous job thus far.
Jabril, looking back to last year and, talking about that run, how hungry does that make you heading into this season?
It makes us very hungry. It makes me very hungry, because we came up so short. It's like there was just little things that we got to remind ourselves every day that we have to do these things so that we don't come up short when the time comes.
Now, Coach Binford, despite your team finishing third in the conference tournament, you walked away as Big Sky Co-Coach of the Year. What does that say about you and your program?
Well, I was very humbled by that. There were a couple teams that had very consistent seasons, and I think it's more of creating a culture that it doesn't matter who's returning, who's leaving the program, but it's the expectation of when you step on the floor, you're representing Montana State, and we want to build champion habits on a daily basis. And that's what October is about. This is where you get your habits in, and we're excited about the progression right now with this team. But everybody's fighting for the same title. Everybody has the same expectations. So you got to find ways to separate yourself. And that's where that consistency, that approach every single day, just loving the process of the grind.
Darian, talking about reigning titles, you're the reigning Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year. What kind of confidence is that going to give you heading into the season?
Honestly, a lot, just with our team expectations on the floor, we always start everything with defense. So it motivates me every day and every play just to, work as hard as I can on the defensive end. And that's just what's going to give us wins.
Now, Coach Sprinkle, you have more players on this roster than last season's roster. How have you and your staff made adjustments as a result?
It actually hasn't been that hard because about 5 or 6 of them have been kind of banged up every practice. So we're still practicing with 11 or 12 guys anyways, but it is going to be a challenge. We're going to have to redshirt a couple guys. And then there's going to be some guys that, with some more competition, I think we have, more talent overall, than the previous 2 years I've been here. And, it's just going to make guys play better. It's going to make them have to practice harder, and like, Coach Ben said, your habits. Your habits have to be really, really good every day or somebody's going to take your spot. And, but it's been fun coaching them all. The young guys have been very coachable, and, they're hungry to learn. And they're also, pushing even some of our older guys.
You talk about competition. How important is that within your program?
It's the most important thing to me. I don't think you get better and you don't take the next step unless there is competition at every spot. I don't want anybody to be comfortable in the entire program. I don't want the strength coach to be comfortable. I don't want the trainer, everybody. I just think you compete on a different level when you're feeling a little bit of that pressure every day. And I think we finally have that, this year, and it'll be interesting to see how that, comes out on the court.
Jabril, Coach Sprinkle talked about how your program is player-led. How are you helping get some of these new guys acclimated to the program?
It's more about, what coaches said, habits, teaching them the right things that we have to do every day. And it can't just be 1 week or one day at a time. You got to keep continually working on your habits. And we tell the young guys every day that, all these things that you guys used to do in high school, you can't do those things anymore because those will catch up to you. You'll start slacking and falling behind if you just come to practice not ready to go extra hard, or like a quote that he said to us the other day was, are you just practicing to practice or practicing to dominate? And we preach that to the young guys a lot because we're all here to get better every day. So that's the most important thing that we realized coming from last year.
Habits seems to be a big topic of conversation here. Jabril, what are some of the habits that have made you successful?
Just always being conscious of, myself. Like if I'm in the weight room, no slacking. That's just like, I have to continually increase the weight of anything I'm doing, making sure every day I'm getting treatment, working on my body, making sure I'm getting 8 hours sleep, making sure I'm eating a lot, making sure that I at least get, a certain amount of shots made every day or every week. Just being conscious of all those little things has been really helpful for me.
I'm sure all of those little things definitely add up. Coach Binford, you are entering your 17th season as head coach of the Bobcat program there, but there's a lot of new coaches in the league this year. What kind of an advantage do you feel that you're at having the experience that you do?
I don't know if it's an advantage or not. It's just more of really focusing on what you do and what you want to be an elite at. And it's going to feel a little bit like preseason, preseason scheduling. Sometimes those scouting reports, it allows you to focus on yourselves and being the best at being a champion in your roles and your execution. And I think certainly that's going to play out going into the conference, the first round, as you get more familiar going into that second round. So I just think it really has presents an opportunity to focus on yourselves and making sure that we're just challenging ourselves to be our best every single day we show up.
Darian, you've been with the program since 2019. Heading into this season, what would you say are some of the new goals that you've set for yourself?
I would say just expanding my game off the three-point shot, being more productive off of coming off screens, making the right passes, and just being a more consistent player all around.
Sticking with that theme of habits, Darian, what are some of the habits that have made you successful?
Just kind of the same as Jabril said, just being really aware, making goals for myself. The biggest one I would say is sleep and making sure to take care of your body. Obviously, if you're not doing those things, you can't recover, which is going to affect the level of your performance and it's going to affect your team. So just making sure you take care of those things and your priorities and just staying mentally focused.
Coach Sprinkle, how do you plan to build upon the success your team built last season?
Day by day, we still have a long way to go. We still didn't get to where we wanted to last year in the regular season or the tournament. And, so I think our guys, Xavier, Abdul, Jabril, and those guys, that went through that, even our young guys, Tyler Patterson and Kellen Tynes, I think they came back with a different hunger, with kind of a little more of an edge, and knowing that, you do have a little, people know about you now. And I don't know if we necessarily have the bullseye on us because I think Southern Utah and Weber do. Obviously, they finished number 1, number 2, in Eastern Washington. Until we get to that point, we still have to have a chip on our shoulder and something to prove. And that's my job, to make sure every day in practice that we get that chip on our shoulder and keep that chip on our shoulder.
Jabril, have you been feeling that chip on your shoulder?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Like as coach says, we haven't really done anything yet. We didn't meet our goals in the regular season or the tournament. So there's a lot that we haven't done, so there's no reason to feel entitled to anything. So yeah, I definitely play or think with that same hunger.
What personal goals have you set for yourself heading into this new season, Jabril?
Personally, I just want to, make sure I stay in the game, because there was a lot that I realized our team benefited from with me just being on the floor. So that's probably the biggest goal of mine right now, is to stay in the game. And most of that comes with conditioning and, just being smart on defense.
Coach Binford, while your young team had a lot of success last season, you didn't make it to that championship game. So talking about a chip on your shoulder, do you feel that you and your program have that?
I think our chip on our shoulder is always an internal one, to get ourselves not only to the NCAA tournament, but then to do something in the NCAA tournament. So, we are consistently scheduling the preseason to try to put top 50 programs on that schedule. So we're testing ourselves and we're preparing ourselves not only for the challenge of the Big Sky, but the consistency that it takes being a one team, one bid league. And you've got to be super consistent every single night. You got to be great teammates, someone who can count on every single day. And that's how you get better on a daily basis.
Now, consistency is definitely very important. And then just taking a look back at the season that you all had last year and what the schedule was like and how it was structured, playing teams back to back, now returning to more of a normal schedule. Do you think that's going to benefit your program?
Well, certainly having fans back in the stadium. In this field house, we get incredible attendance, both men's and women's basketball, and our atmosphere is a big part of creating that atmosphere and playing off that energy in the field house. So I think it is going to be a factor for just the energy that we want to certainly play off of. But in some regards, for our sophomore class, it's almost going to feel like a freshman season because it's going to be drastically different. So we got to get them figured out very quickly, because scouting reports will be done a little bit differently, but at the same time, super excited to get back to the traditional format and get our fans back in the building.
Talking about fans being back in the building, Darian, what is it like playing there in Bozeman?
It is so much fun. You can always hear fans encouraging you, yelling at the refs, of course, just motivating you. During a lot of games, sometimes it's easy to lose a little bit of energy and focus. And so having the fans in the background, just being able to motivate you and just keep that energy going, it's really nice and it's helpful.
Coach Sprinkle, obviously you are no stranger to Montana State, being an alum of the program there. How similar would you say the culture is from your time playing there to now coaching and getting to be at the helm of your own program?
The culture just on campus or within the program?
Within the program.
It's getting closer. It's getting closer. I think our guys have always been really close. And I think now I'm trying to really impose on them how important it is to the community, how important it is to the former players here. And I think they're realizing that with a lot of the former players coming back and talking to them, and just the pride that they showed in, when we made our run last year to the championship, how many of those guys reached out and, how supportive they are. And I think our players like Jabril know now that Quadre Lawless is watching him every game. Tom DeMaco is watching them every game. And, and I think that's something where I want that to permeate through, where a couple of years from now, when Jabril's playing pro, our young guys, Great Osabar, who's a freshman right now, they know Jabril's watching all of his games and going to call him and text him and let him know he's proud of him, or, hey, he's got to do this better. This is who you're representing. And, so I think the culture, it's, it takes time. It takes time, but I really feel like, we've made a step each year in that regard.
Jabril, what can you say about how you've experienced the culture firsthand there?
It's kind of nice to see, because, I've seen the development of our coach over the past 2 years that I've been here, and it's getting better and better within every day we practice, because, the guys that have been here, we preach a lot of things, a lot of the same things over and over again, so that, it becomes, permeated throughout the whole team. So yeah, it's nice to see how much the culture has developed since I've been here.
All right, talking about culture, Coach Binford, you know what it takes to see a team cut down nets at the conference tournament. Is this team one that's capable of doing so?
Well, she's certainly on the screen, and she's the leader of this team. So when Darian White's on the floor, definitely anything's possible. And I think she's got the team on the same page. We got a lot of talent. We have a lot of depth. And right now it's just trying to find that level of consistency, what excellence looks like on every single possession. And, you know, that takes a lot of focus, takes a lot of endurance, and some of the things Jabril and Darian talked about and articulated very well with their experience is just the professional piece of how you prepare, how you recover, the Big Sky travel, all those things will be a factor and come into play. And so we've got this young team that we've got to continue getting maturity and education in those components to be able to play to that potential.
Talking about maturity, Darian, you've been with the program for a number of years. What is the advice that you're sharing with some of the younger teammates that you have?
I would say just being mentally focused to push through. As we know, it's mentally challenging to come from high school to college ball. So to lean on each other for support and just be there for each other no matter what. And yeah.
Coach Sprinkle, what do you take from the season that you had last year was so unconventional? We talked about it a little bit just with scheduling, playing the same opponent back to back. What did you learn from that experience that you want to take with you into this new season?
You know, I think, you really learned how to handle adversity because every day you didn't know what was coming. You might have 3 players to practice. You might have 15. You might go to a game and somebody's not there, or a team calls you the day before and we lose our rivalry game with Montana, and being able to adapt and overcome that and being able to, our theme for this year is next step, like get to the next play, get to the next step, and I think it really taught all of us, to be thankful for what we have and every opportunity that we can step on the court and be in the weight room, practice, all that, like don't take advantage of, take advantage of it. And, and I think our guys have really done a good job with that this year. It has, that first month back kind of where everything was back to normal was almost exhausting because you're used to just staying at home. But I think that's the biggest thing that our program learned was just kind of, being able to handle adversity and move past it and get to the next thing.
Jabril, when you look at the upcoming schedule, are there any games that you're most excited for?
There's a lot of games I'm excited for, and probably the first one will probably be Colorado, just because of their conference and the competition level they're at. And a lot of the conference games that we have, I'm also excited to play the teams that we didn't get to play last year. Just show them who we are and hopefully get the win too. So.
How do you go into a game with an opponent that you didn't get to play last year? How do you think your preparation is going to look different?
It's kind of the same preparation for every game, really, because it's all games you got to come with the same mentality to dominate. So, it doesn't really change depending on the team that you play. You just got to come in focused and prepared.
Coach Binford, what strengths of your team are sticking out to you in the preseason?
Well, I think we're fast. I think we're long. I think we've got an edge about us that could really create some havoc defensively. Last year, we led the Big Sky in forced turnovers and steals, and so we want to continue building off of that. But I also think we're taking the next step of what a great shot looks like on our end of the floor. And so, yeah, just trying to put those pieces together and build some great habits.
Darian, being with the program since 2019, are there any opponents that you're most looking forward to playing this season?
Probably from last season, definitely Idaho and ISU.
And so going into those games, is your mindset going to be any different? Talking about a chip on your shoulder, anything you're going to go in with a little more fuel?
Definitely a little more fuel. I did not like the way that we finished last year. I feel like we have unfinished business. This year, I hope, we're going to progress in so many different ways, being more consistent and taking a lot of things off film. So I hope that, when we play them, we're going to execute just the way that we need to and just have better games against them.
Well, I definitely think it is safe to say that both Montana State basketball programs here are very hungry. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Big Sky Tip-Off on ESPN+.